Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today to discuss the last three chapters of the White Luck Warrior, chapters 13, 14, and 15. So we'll be wrapping up the White Luck Warrior, and Katerina will be in uncharted territory after this one. Just like me, I won't be alone. So,
Yeah, you caught up. Congratulations.
yeah, it only took me like 6 months, but here I am. So it's my first time reading the series, and as always, I'm here with Daniel and Katerina. Daniel, will you start with introductions, please?
I'm Daniel, and I've read this series a couple times now, so I will be ahead of these guys drastically for these last two books.
Yes, and I'm Katerina, and this is the last book that I had read before this read along. So from the next book, as Steve's already said, I will be reading as a complete newbie.
I won't. Yeah, it's exciting. I won't be the only newbie here. It's kind of nice. I was getting lonely. So lots to talk about. Lots of things to happen. I did think I'd hear the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song one of these one of these chapters with Maithanet and Espinette. But yeah. So what were your thoughts on these three chapters of chapter 13?
Well, I would say I probably enjoyed the ending of this book more the second time I read it. And probably has to do with the fact I was able to connect with Esminette on a much deeper level than I kind of I found her a little bit annoying the first time I read the Judging Eye and the White Light Warrior. So I was able to empathize with her and her situation a lot more this time.
Hmm.
And also Soriel's pretty much cemented himself as my favorite character in this series. Um, I will admit I did struggle a little bit with the Akamian chapters. Like it's not that they're not interesting, but they do tend to drag for me a lot, especially on the second read, because at least on my first read, there was like the mystery of Cleric and who he was and what he was doing with the skin eaters. And since I already knew that going into it the second time, there wasn't as much for me to dig into.
Hmm. What about you, Daniel, on your fifth or sixth read?
I thought it was good. I really liked the ending. I liked the library scene a lot, I guess. And I feel real bad for Sorrel, so
Hmm.
I kind of liked those chapters.
You feel bad for Sorrow, really?
Yeah, he just has a bunch of deadheads now he's talking to. He's dead for sure by now. They just left him a little bit of cleric in the end and in a leaf and walked off. And
Hmm.
he won't survive unless he will.
So, Katerina, I'm a little bit surprised that Sorwheel is one of your. What is it about Sorwheel that makes him one of your favorites?
Um, I guess I mean, I think you can tell already, like from the Prince of Nothing. I liked damaged and flawed characters. If you think of the my favorites from the first trilogy, um, I think it's just that I guess he's like it's a nice like it's a refreshing change from the characters in the first trilogy in the sense that he's much younger, he's much more inexperienced, he's kind of figuring his way out. Um, and it also goes against this like it's like the anti coming of age story kind of.
Hmm.
It's like he's trying to become this like heroic person, but he's like failing at every step. Like he always has these ideas about like how courageous he should be, but every step of the way he seems to make like the most like coward like decision. And I mean there's something refreshing and relatable about that, I guess. um yeah.
I did feel for him when he saw the the siblings coupling.
Yeah, it's I think I might have shouted at the book when he started watching them and enjoying enjoying watching them. I mean, like as I said, like I mean, him always like kind of making the wrong and not courageous decision is kind of what it's kind of his deal. Like I guess that's kind of what his character arc is about. But even for me, it was a little bit disappointing that that's how he decided to deal with the situation.
You know, from all the things that you describe about Sorwheel, about him being kind of a, he can't really seem to get it right. That's why I'm surprised that he, um, on page 455, he and he alone was capable of murdering the aspect emperor. He only needs summon the courage to die. So I'm a little bit surprised that he's that person.
Yeah, well, he's that person against his will, right? Like Yadwer didn't ask him if he wanted to be her chosen warrior or whatever it is that he is. It just sort of happened to him. Like he had no agency in that.
But why him though? Is what I'm like. Seems like an odd choice.
Maybe that's the reason. Like maybe you wouldn't see it coming from him, right?
Hmm. Okay.
But I'm wondering. Like I'm as ignorant as you are. That's the nice thing about being caught up, that I can make all these wild speculation and I don't have to pretend like I don't know, because I truly don't know.
Yeah. And Daniel just is being very quiet. Yeah, the Sorwheel stuff, I get a little, I don't know. He seems like such a fish out of water in this story, doesn't he? It's because he can't really seem to get it right, and I don't know. He just his character is just so much different than everyone else. He's because he's not. I don't know. Is he not capable? Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends. Like, do you expect him to behave like a kid who's never been in a battle, or do you expect him to behave like someone who was born to be a hero and a king?
Well, I just think because we're so used to seeing these characters that are strong in some way or that are capable in some way, and he's is he the only one that hasn't been formidable in some way? I mean, I think all the other previous characters have been dangerous in some way, whether it's political or with, you know, physically, or they have some kind of power, but he doesn't really have a whole lot to be afraid of. If you don't, I mean, unless you know what he's been chosen to do, otherwise he's just he's a different character that we spend a lot of time with. That so in that way he kind of stands out.
Yeah, well, I think like when I think back on the characters that we've encountered along the way, at least Surway is one, and maybe you can draw some parallels to Surway. Like she also is very young, like thrust into middle of this crazy political and situation, and is trying to find her like basically just a way to stay alive, which in some ways, like I mean, like I think Sorwell is terrified. Like he
Mm-hmm.
just lost his father, he just lost his city, he's just been named a king. He has no idea how to rule. He's been dragged off with his foreign army. He doesn't know how to speak the language of the people around him. He's like he has no one. He basically has no one. He has no one to talk to, and then all these like weird things are happening to him, and a god is wants him to murder the most powerful man in Urva. I'd be freaking out.
he is kind of an exception, whereas he's sort of powerless.
Mhm.
Except Yatwar's giving him power to stumble forward. Because, like you guys said, he's never walking somewhere the right way. He's always stumbling, but somehow the right direction.
I think
Maybe not anymore. Do you guys think Kellis can see the white luck? Is that why he sent Sorwill away?
I don't know, but I've been wondering about that. Also, like, and yeah, I've been wondering about whether maybe like Serba or at least Callus know that he's been chosen by Yatwer, and that, or if they're just pretending that they can see through his face. And there's also the core that uh Prosperian gives to him before he kills himself, that then Sorwheel gives to Zoronga. And I was wondering if that was also part of Yadwar's plan, and if she meant for him to give up the core, or if that was Sorwheel's decision, and probably Sorwheel's. Well, I mean, I guess he didn't really have a choice. Like he had to. He couldn't bring a core with him when he had a witch transporting him across the country. Um, but I was wondering if that was something that Yadwer foresaw or even planned.
Hmm. I'm with you. I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't want to get off of the sore wheel stuff, but I did have a question about. Well, I'll bring up about Kellis, about what he knows and what he doesn't know. But um, yeah, the with Kellis, I think we talked about it before, but the power creep for Kellis seems really high because he winks out of existence now. He just like pops in and pops out. So I mean, Sorreal has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, I was reflecting on how at the beginning of the entire series, the schoolmen seem like too powerful, right?
Mm.
And then they introduced Kore, which kind of like evened the score. And then in these chapters, like the shrink even the score just by sheer volume, right? So how powerful are the schoolmen now when they could just burn everyone all day and not burn everyone?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kellis had 20 years and his Junyan superior intellect to become a superior sorcerer. So I'm not too like the power creep. It doesn't really bother me. Like it does make sense to me considering that we've not seen the man for 20 years. We don't know what he's been studying, where he well we maybe have an idea of where he's been and what he's done, but still we haven't been we weren't there. We didn't see it. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Because he's like well, like you said, it's the schoolmen. There's Corey. There's some kind of counter to everyone except for him. He's like Superman with no kryptonite. I mean, what's his weakness?
A whole
Well,
bunch of gods hating on him.
he doesn't well he doesn't come right away to save the Southern Army. So I would like to think that maybe even his powers have limits. Like maybe he wouldn't be able to annihilate hundreds of thousands of strength at once.
But then, like we've always talked about, everything is for a reason, right? Since the first book, we've discussed that. So whenever he doesn't act, then I think, well, that must be something that has to happen for him to achieve his goal. So he lets things happen just
So
because they have to happen a certain way.
so you think he sacrificed the army of the South?
I kind of think so, and I think he's did he sacrifice um, Mathanet too? He could have stopped that. I don't want to get too far off track, but there's lots of things that, and he talks about what happened with Mathanet. Like he says something like, I don't know. That's the little that I know. But do you though? Like, is that really all you know? I mean, I found that hard to believe after all that he's capable of.
Yeah, he does seem to be in the picture. Like he seems to have an idea what's going on or what's been going on in Moment for sure. Um, well, I'm as clueless as you are.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of nice not being alone anymore.
Yeah, I'm afraid the next two books it'll just be the two of us saying, "Oh well, I don't know. This could be intentional. This maybe not."
And Daniel just will just have that smile on his face the whole time.
I just can't say. We'll just find out. We'll all find out how powerful Kellis is and how far he sees, like you guys were saying.
Hmm.
I think it was interesting the way the exciting like parts of these chapters were paired with like the like a slower part, like Mimara
Which ones did you? Okay.
Mimara and Sorwil, because aside from them, it would be like, oh, and then the armies are all killing each other, and oh, there's Bash Rags, and then it's like, and then they zapped forward 100 miles and fell asleep.
Well, I mean,
Mowing is jumped in a river, and then on the other side, it's a Camian and cleric like fighting with a dragon, and then Mimara just sitting at a camp trying to figure out what to do while everyone else mutinies. Just like a slower sections, and the way he cut it apart was weird.
this I might be this might be a controversial opinion, but I found the slow parts a lot more exciting than the action scenes. Especially, I mean, not that they were like poorly written or they were boring, but especially with the Southern Army, I never heard of that king until like
Yeah.
a chapter ago, and now I'm following this entire army of people that I didn't even know that existed, and they're all making these like stupid decisions, and I'm supposed to care. Um, and I did feel bad for them, but at the same time, it's like, you know, if it was Saban leading their army, I would have been a lot more excited
Really?
about reading about him getting exterminated by the Strang.
Poor Saban.
I see what you're saying. It was like the Vulcanati or whatever school, and then the mandate there too. Who knows how many of them are left, but I assume very little.
Yeah, especially after they started killing each other. I mean, like, going back to what you said, Steve, about like Kellis always like doing everything for a reason. Like, I wonder if that also was some like was this like this like the entire like the end of the Southern Army was like that was a disaster, right? So, but I wonder, like, did he anticipate that? Did Kellis anticipate this? Because like he had to know how the leaders, like the Mendati sorcerer and the other sorcerer, like he had to know that they would antagonize each other. Um, so was like, did he just not like was that a mistake Callus made, or was it intentional, or did he not care? Like, did he was it like were they always going to lose the Southern Army, so it didn't matter?
After the after the conversation that Mathanet has with Esme or Espinette, I kind of wonder it's either they don't matter in the big picture, like what happens to them doesn't play a part in what Callus wants his end goal, so he doesn't really care, or they have to fail for it to happen. It seems has to be deliberate. I don't know. I have to think that he either is indifferent or it has to happen this way, so he's okay with it.
Rest in peace, Mathanet.
Oh, that was so sad.
Right when they were
Yeah.
finally getting along.
Tell my brother and or what was it? Oh, and also, Kilomus isn't who you think he is or what you think he is. It's always and I really had the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song playing when the assassin showed up and killed Mathanet, just when we're about to find something out. Oh, that hurt. I like Mathanet. That's too bad. He got a robbing.
Yeah, I feel bad for Esminette.
A lot of this is her mess, though.
Yeah, yeah. She shouldn't have forgotten that she ordered an assassin to kill Mathanet.
Well, probably if it would have happened a few minutes earlier, then it would have been okay. But Mathanet, brings her out and talks to her, and I kind of wondered whether he knew that those guards would rough Math or Espinette up, or if that was really something that he punished them for. Because he talks about them being flayed alive. So I wondered if that was just him trying to prove to her that he cared, or was that an act?
It was like the same thing that she did for Mamara, right? Like it's already happened, but well, let's just burn everybody anyways.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know if the two are mutually exclusive. Like it was probably calculated on his part, but to show that he wanted, like he was on her side, I think. That's what I assume anyway. But we'll never know because he's dead.
Oh, that sucked. That was rough. That was rough. And it was
Yeah.
really sad to see Esminette fall the way she's fallen when they caught her, when they found her, and that was really sad to see. Or to, after all that she's been through, she's back to, for a brief period, but she's back to being a prisoner. Not all at once.
Yeah, there was I don't know, it's hard to remember what I like how I felt when I read that scene for the first time. Um but I do remember being very shocked when Mathanet was assassinated because I completely forgotten about the White Leg Warrior. It's been like at least a few weeks. There's at least a few weeks between when she leaves the palace and when they capture her. And I think there's in one of the previous chapters, there's something about the White Leg Warrior where he says that 53 days from that moment, he like Kellis would be dead or something. So I'm wondering how much time has actually passed and if we'll see Kellis and the White Leg Warrior clashing anytime soon.
Speaking of the White Look Warrior, it's a strange title for this book because I thought we would get more of the, the White Look Warrior. But yeah, it's a cool title. Don't get me wrong, but you know,
Well, do you think like is the White Leg Warrior just the one we saw in Momam, or would like Sorwheel also be considered a White Leg Warrior or some form of the White Log Warrior.
Yeah, that's true. Um,
I think the last book was called the Judging Eye, and we didn't get a whole lot of the Judging Eye, just a couple little bits of it.
it's true.
Well, we've gotten a lot of the Great Ordeal so far.
Yeah.
He did assassinate an Anasarimber.
Yes, one off his list, and I think Esminette is probably next.
So so Katerina, so you haven't we neither of us have read beyond this one. Do you let's get some predictions in. If you had to
I
call
don't
it
know.
now, what Esminette is Esminette going to survive the series?
Hmm. I I doubt it. I would say, well, no, I think it's okay. My wild guess is it's either like Esminette will die and Kalmomus will have something to do with it, or Esminette survives, but something happens to Kalmomus and she will be completely broken, and you would maybe rather that she died because she'd probably be happier. I don't know. This
What
is just my speculating.
What do you think, Steve?
I don't think anyone's going to make it. I don't think anyone's going to survive.
It's just an atomic bomb at the end.
I think
The entire planet explodes.
something catastrophic is going to happen, and no one's going to make it. Not even maybe Kellis, maybe.
Not a Kamian? Not Mamara?
Nope.
Not Finale?
Not
The,
surreal. Saban might make it because he's Saban, but
what about
No.
Proyas? He's just the most pious person around.
nah, he won't make it either.
I think I think Sorul might make it. I think there's a chance that at the end he'll be one of the very few people alive and will spend the rest of his life regretting everything he did in the name of Kellis, all the atrocities, and he'll be a rack like everyone else who makes it.
Yeah.
That makes me reflect back to the time he cut out the Srank's eyeball, just to make everyone want to torture it better.
Oh wait, are we talking about Sorul or Proas?
Sorwill.
Oh, sorry,
I
I was.
thought
Oh, I was thinking about Proas. Sorul, I'm not sure. I don't know. Sorul, I don't really see where he's going. I don't know. Maybe he'll get somehow involved with the non-man, maybe the consult. But I'm
so.
pretty. Yes, go ahead.
Will the consult or the shrink or the synthes survive? Will any of them survive? Or I mean the non-men, not the synthes, because he's part of the consult. I guess the non-men are now too, right?
That's what we learned from Nelgikas. That Ishtarabin has allied itself with the consult.
And now they got two Ennis Rimbers and a real enemy going there. Someone who wasn't an enemy right up until the end of this book, and now he just hates anything Ennis Rimber. He wants to kill all of them.
Yeah, it's a bit sad that that's what it took. Although he still might he keeps wavering, so he might change his mind again. Because I think, well, it's he kind like he believes the cause. I think, like he believes the Great Ordeal has a purpose, but he hates Serva now.
they needed an enemy, and he wasn't a very good enemy. He's just hanging out with them, thinking they were cool. Can't have that. Maybe.
Maybe. There was something I was confused about that I may have just missed. But speaking of Noglicus, let me find the page really quick. It talks about him being this Noglicus. Do you know much of him? I was his friend once, the first end of the world.
When he was Siswatha.
Right. Okay. That's what I was confused about. Okay.
That's
I
why
think
he like remember. He's like, I remember you, old friend. Talking, think he's like seeing the soul of Siswatha through a Camian.
but
And
Sirwa also remembers Nelgikas because she also dreams the dreams.
And there was a point where these guys were just like right next to each other, right? Akamian and the Skin Eaters and Surway and Mawingus and Sorwil. If you look on the map when they're at the old city exploring, where Soglash is like real close. And there's a point where Sorwil like swears you could see like sorcery or something in the distance.
I kind of
Hmm.
missed that. Yeah, I was wondering if there were going to cross ways at some point because they seem to be going in the same direction. But yeah, I didn't realize they were so close to each other.
And Ishturbint and Ishuel are pretty close on the map too. Another dead city.
Yeah, I did not expect that when I first read the book.
Yeah.
Um to find Ishwal destroyed. So let's speculate. Like, who do you think destroyed the city? Um you just cover your face, Daniel.
I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm good.
Who do I think? Who do I think destroyed the city?
Yeah.
I
Is
think
so
the Dunyan destroyed it.
oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was considering the more maybe obvious culprits. Um, the consult, obviously, but also Kellis. He probably
Mm.
might want it destroyed either because I don't know. I guess he killed Moangus because he assumed that Moangus would want to stop him. So I think it's safe to assume that the if the other Dunyan learn about what Kel has been doing for the past 20 years, they probably also want to stop him as well. So I think there's an argument to make about for Kellis destroying Ishwal,
Hmm.
but yeah, maybe they left, maybe they destroyed the city themselves.
Because they knew that they were coming, or they had to cover their tracks somehow, or maybe they're preparing for this big event that we're going to have at the end of the series.
Could it have been Shrank? Could it have been non-men?
Mm, maybe.
Could it have been a dragon? He said he's been looking for, what did he call humans? Vermin?
Vermin.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they have the underground tunnel, so you could just hide underground, maybe
The, thou-
if a dragon comes,
the thousand halls?
right? And I mean, the Strang have been around for thousands of years, and they never discovered Ishwal, at least while Kellis was there. So why now?
Daniel's Trying to keep a straight face to the whole thing.
I'm trying to remember how it describes Ishwal when he sees it. I feel like he said the foundation was chopped and charred.
Um, it says its once grand bastions overturned, its curtain walls struck to their foundations, another dead place.
Yeah, that doesn't really say anything. Like, could have been. Yeah, I guess dragons also a possibility, but
Definitely not just strength. Strength can't tear down a giant foundation of a wall.
if there was enough of them, maybe they could. Just
Ball together like ants and just tumble forward over it.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. But
That's what I imagine them doing in the river when they all started to sink, just kind of grabbing each other till they made a bridge of strength crawling across.
yeah, yeah, but I think the other alternatives seem more exciting.
It does seem like things are coming to a head, and it's a little bit surprising there's two more books to go because it does seem like things are kind of. So I'm curious to where this is all going to go because it seems like
W-
things are. It seems like it'd be one more book left.
Wasn't it supposed to be one book originally? Like, didn't it get split at some point into two?
Hmm.
Yeah,
The
this
yeah.
was supposed to be a trilogy as well.
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere. But I don't know. I feel like we're finally getting to the exciting parts. Like we're going to Ashterabeth, which is something I'm very excited about. 'Cause I want to learn more about the non-man. It seems like we might reach Golgotha soon. That's also pretty. Yeah, should be. Well, I don't. I don't know. I don't want to say fun because like these books are never really fun. Or if then it's very twisted kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I'm
The
looking forward to it.
the great ordeal went from having like no food around to having all the food they can find though.
So shrank.
Yeah, I also did not see that coming. Um, but I guess if you have all these creatures running around, sooner or later you'll realize that they're edible.
Yummy. Do they taste like chicken? Is the question.
Well, I once tried crocodile and it tasted kind of like chicken, so
Hmm.
maybe
We may find out. We may find out what they taste like.
I think we will find out.
But I guess that means there's just no more other food to have. So it's just only strength from here to Golgotha.
That's a lot of protein.
It's a lot of food. Kill a lot of shrank. But
I assume it's still better than cannibalism because that was the alternative.
yeah, I mean it's yeah, I would imagine so. I mean,
It's close, but it's probably better. Yeah. They need the army. They don't. There's leftover strength after they march. There's not leftover people to murder and eat yet.
I wonder why they didn't start eating them before. What was why did it take this long? Because they go through a lot of trouble of carrying resources and planning resources, and wouldn't it be easier just to have done this from the beginning? Unless there's a reason why they didn't eat shrank.
I would imagine they probably like they weren't pushed far enough. Like I don't think if Callus suggested it earlier, I think they would have probably rebelled. Like it was only after they witnessed the destruction of the Sudden Army that he could probably make the argument that this is the only way for them to survive. Like at least that's my guess. Um, But if you were like being very rational about it, then yeah, they should have started eating the strength right away.
Well, and then
The
plus I don't want to say they dehumanized the Shrank because they're not humans, but they made them seem less than. They tortured them, and so I guess you wouldn't think to eat something like that either.
it's the first GMOs they're trying too.
Pasture raised, yeah, organic.
Genetically modified organics. It's pretty much what the strength are.
Well, would it be considered cannibalism if the non-men ate the strength? Because they're supposed to have like almost the same DNA, I think.
On the other side of the river, there's Mimara and Akamian eating the dust of the non-men.
That's right.
Yeah,
Cherishing cleric. That they love cleric.
Yeah, that was a sad death for sure. I shed a few tears.
really?
Yeah, I mean it's end of an era.
A long era. That's a really long era.
He's older than the Tusk. Remember?
He was crazy. I mean, he isn't it? It's kind of thought it was kind of a mercy because he was. I mean, he didn't seem like he really wanted to. I mean, almost got the impression that he didn't want to keep going. He was ready, or he just didn't know. He was insane.
Yeah, no, I think you're right about that. It was still sad. I also just I guess like see like knowing how great and powerful he used to be, and then seeing the husk that he was like he became. Like yeah, I guess in some way it was a mercy from a Kamian, but it still made me sad. Like he is one of the more fascinating characters in this book to me, or was.
He he lived like a terabyte life, and he had to keep shoving it into a gigabyte of memory. So he was just ruined, erratic.
Yeah, I think he's at the end of his road. He's ready.
We're we're about to see some new non-men from the sounds of it. There should be some in Isterbinth.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. For like just to see like what a saner version of a non-man looks like, but also like to find out more about if they're actually working with Golgotherath and with the consult, and what their plan is with Sorweel and Serba and Moangus. Um, so I really hope we get to spend some time in the mansion.
Think we may. And go ahead.
So it's crazy you want to spend time in basically a dead non-men hole in a rock, but we we probably will.
We've been hearing about them since the prologue. I mean, I think the one of the things that there's a lot in the prologue, but one of the things is the non-man in the prologue. So I think now we this curiosity that we want to see everything we can see because we've been on this journey. So
Something like
Yeah.
the black halls, but living.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a pretty much a mystery. Like, I don't think that cleric was a good representation of like an average non-man. But I mean, what do I know? I haven't met any yet.
maybe we
Two,
will.
two or three. They came on a flying chariot and left.
Yeah, but I mean, that was very brief in a very formal occasion. I want to
It,
really get to know.
The flying chariots kind of stand out to me that it don't really seem like they fit, or is it just me? It seems a little. too fantastical for this world? Or is that just me being picky?
I also thought it was a bit eerie. Um, yeah, like I don't understand. Like we talked about it last week, I think, but I was like, well, I was confused about why they needed chariot in the first place.
Yeah, it's just kind
But
of odd.
Daniel had a pretty good explanation.
Yeah, reading about it again, it's like it just seemed kind of weird. Kind of really fit. But after Mathanet and Espenet, Mathanet explains to Espenet about what the Empire really means. I was convinced what it means, what it'll mean after the Great Ordeal, and why Callus has basically abandoned them. I was convinced that Callus just doesn't really care. He's letting these things happen, and of course, another one of his kids die too, which
Which one?
doesn't Inrilitas die in this one, or did I lose track?
That was a
Oh,
lot.
well, I mean, in the book or in this chapter?
Oh, in the book.
Oh, yeah, in the book. Yeah, he does die. Yeah. Sorry, I got
So
confused.
it seems weird that he doesn't do anything to save his kids if he's not going to rescue Esmenet. Or but then again, does he just know what's going to happen? He just lets things happen. So it's difficult to know what his plan is, or if he really doesn't. He really didn't know a whole lot about what happened.
Yeah, I'm probably with you. I think he knows. I think he has a pretty good idea what's going on in the Empire and has correctly deduced that if you create this huge power vacuum, people will try to usurp the throne, and will probably like there's it's just impossible for Esmenet to or Mathanet to withstand the pressure from Zaum or from Phenile or all the other enemies that they've created over the past two decades.
I think
So I
Proteus asked Kellus if he loves Esmnet, right? And he says love is for lesser souls.
that's such. I mean, it's very that's very cold, but like it's such a good one liner.
So he, maybe he does love Esmnet, but he doesn't have time for it, right? That's for people with less to do than whatever Kellus is doing.
Yeah, I think even if he loved her, I think he has other priorities, and she's just not one of them, and the Empire certainly isn't one of them. Um, which doesn't change the fact that we still don't really know what his goal is. But it does. I mean, it does seem to be something that has to do with the consult and with Golgotherath.
It's the thousandfold thought, of course, right?
Yeah, but I mean, what is a thousandfold thought? Or what has it evolved into over the course of 20 years?
I don't know, but he, he's trying to walk the shortest path. I feel like they said somewhere that, or they refreshed it in your brain that the Dunyin are like trained to grasp the absolute, right? And that in this world, God is shattered into like 1,000 fractions, and the Dunyin could possibly grasp even the absolute of the gods.
So is like, what are you saying, that Callus is trying to become the god of gods, or like he's trying to reach the absolute? Is he
Or
trying to?
something. He's trying to do something. It appears like he's trying to kill all the Srank and reach Golgotherath for sure, right? Even if it costs him every capable man in the 3C.
Yeah, I think we can agree that he is trying to get to Golgadrath with at least a part of an army left. Because I mean, if he just wanted to go, he could probably teleport. Like it shouldn't be too difficult.
He winks in and out of existence. I mean, he comes and goes as he pleases. That's why it seems really strange.
And he
Yep.
did for, I forgot how many years before, pay people to kill Shrink, right? Just trying to clear the way for him to send an army up there, which, from the way it describes how many strength there are, who knows?
Yeah, that wasn't very successful.
I think at one part it talked about the strength just like trying to throw themselves into swords so they could fall and die and leave the army with less swords. If they could just cause them to lose a couple weapons.
So I did have a question, and I don't know if I misunderstood this, but the way that I understood it was, well, I think we had talked about it before, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but the dragon that they find, I forget the name, and I couldn't pronounce it if I did, but
Wutiat.
yeah, but they call him the Horde. I think they reference it being the Horde leader. Was he controlling the Shrink? Was it him pulling the strings and controlling their movements and things, or is that just um, is he just the? Is it not related?
I think he says, what, not even the black heavens control me? Doesn't he say that at one point? And earlier we learned that the no god was the one that like controlled the Shrink. He can
Hmm.
mass control everything somehow.
So the dragon is no god proof. Like he cannot be controlled even by the non-god. No god is the implication. That's what I'm reading in
Or
between the
the
lines.
the no god's just been gone for that amount of time. Now he doesn't have any eyeballs. His bronze skin is slagging off his body. He's an undead dragon, right? Pretty much. He's for sure dead.
Well, he seems pretty seems pretty agile for someone who's allegedly dead. I don't know. Um, I found the whole scene with the dragon kind of just strange, bizarre. Because, like, why is he there? Like, no one ever mentioned that there was supposed to be a dragon in the library, and then they like the Ikamian and cleric is they arrive at the library and they're like, oh, sulfur, there must be a dragon here, and then just continue down into the hole. Like no battle plan, no strategy to root the dragon out or to trick him or get around him without him noticing. No, it's just yeah, let's just go. Let's fight the dragon. I guess it's
Yeah.
the drugs, but it just felt like this the whole like the in all the Ikamian chapters are just they're just so weird. And so like it's kind of like there's like a distance where like they feel a little bit detached. I don't know if it's just me, like if I'm the problem or if that they're supposed to like if they're written the way if they're supposed to be read that way.
Were you using query when you were reading? Is it that might be why you thought it was kind of strange? But I think some of it, like you mentioned, I think some of it is kind of explained away as the weird things they do is, oh, they're just on this drug and they do weird shit. So it seems kind of strange. Yeah, those are like my least favorite chapters is the Mimera and Kamian chapters. I'm kind of
So do
ready
you
for him to
think
just
if
die.
if I was on drugs while reading it, you think I connect to them better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try
Yeah.
next time.
There isn't a lot of emotion in those chapters at all.
Mm.
No feelings. Not even the captain had feelings. Sarl's the only one I think that has feelings. I don't know what they are, but he sat on the captain's back and held his head in his hand and just talked to him for who knows how long.
I think if there was a golem in this series, it would probably be Sorrel.
Hmm.
Just from the way he talks to himself and has all these phrases that he repeats.
Hmm.
Trying to get to the precious coffers.
Yeah, that too.
The coffers. Yeah.
There's only Akamian and Mamara left now, though, so maybe those chapters are going to change. There's just a baby and a dad slash husband slash
Oh,
Father.
teacher slash
so, so
father
gross.
and
God.
Mamara. And then we
Yeah.
found out that the only stone hag that managed to survive was
Oh yeah.
another skin spy.
Was it a different one or was it the same one? I thought it
It
was
was
the
probably the same one, but who knows when he took over his body.
yeah, I
It's,
think it had to be pretty recent because I think like a chapter before or two chapters before, my Mara still talked to him and he was still wearing her face.
Yeah, and then the captain said she wasn't allowed to leave their site anymore.
there was a quote on 536 that I had highlighted, and it struck a little, a little close to home. But few things unsettle more than the violation of hidden assumptions, or make us more weary.
Disappointment hurts.
It does, yes. And I laughed when they
Um,
they talk about feast on what? Peaches, my sweet peaches.
that was pretty. That scene was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was rough.
I was really hoping that someone was going to come and save my Mara. I was really happy we didn't see that through. And
Mimara
also,
was even completely emotionless through it too, right? She like undressed herself, thinking that maybe the drug would help, but then realizing that it wasn't going to help.
yeah, and it's just talking about disappointment. Galen came across as pretty nice guy initially, but the way he turned out was just well, it just made me feel pretty uncomfortable.
And her forgiving him was having her judging eye open.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful. Um,
And the captain, he died. Everyone died pretty much. Most of the characters we got introduced to are now all just dead people.
that's right. Yeah, I wonder what Maimara and Akamian are going to do next. Because I don't think they have a plan. I don't think Akamian has a plan. Well, I mean, he didn't really have a plan even before they reached Ishwal. Um, which also like it does like it bothers me a little bit. Like there seem to be way too many coincidences when it comes to the map and him dreaming about the map and setting off on a march across the entire continent without a clear destination, only then to have a dream where he finds out that the place he lied about they were going to he actually needs to go to, it being the library. It's just too many coincidences. So I hope there's something more going on. Because if not, then I'll be quite disappointed. Like I hope it's someone. I hope there's someone or some other reason why a Kamian decided to go on this journey and why everything seems to converge in Ishwal.
Daniel just being. We can tell that we're getting good to some good revelations because Daniel's very quiet. He's trying not to say anything. Yeah,
I've asked you guys about free will and fate for a long time, ever since Kellis showed up on the grave of Nair's dad. How much free will's going on? And Kellis dominates everybody else's free will, but he's the one that showed up on that grave, right? So, and then the White Luck Warrior seems to know what everybody's doing all the time, and he has absolutely no free will, right? Because he just walks where he sees himself walking all the time, just so he can be where he needs to be. In the one spot Mathanet can't see him. And then Essenet saves him for some reason.
Well, I
I
think
feel
by saving him, she's kind of saving herself. Because it's because she assumes responsibility for Mathanet's assassination. That's how she's able to maintain her power.
I don't know. Yeah.
And Mamara prays to Yatwer too, seemingly only. That's the only person she's prayed to that we've seen. So maybe we'll figure out. Akamian is only looking for the truth from what he says, right? He just wants the truth.
Yeah, that's what he says, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The truth about Anis, remember, and he thinks he'll find it in Ishbal.
Truth is infinite, as we find out. So
That's
I
a
guess you can
fact.
always keep searching and searching.
Yeah, that dragon really schooled Akamian. It's been sitting around for thousands of years waiting for someone to use that line on, probably.
Very
He
patient.
also talked about how he had been in the Ark and traveled from planet to planet, reducing the number to 144,000, and still they couldn't avoid their fate. But this planet was the chosen planet. This planet was going to be different, but it refuses to die.
Well, maybe that's what they say about it. That's what they said about every planet that they landed on. That this was the one. This is where it was going to happen.
Then they crashed into this one, so it was instantly different.
Right. So they didn't come out of their own will to this planet.
Or did they?
It
I don't know,
seems like they've been fleeing for a long time now away from whatever they did that was bad, wherever they did something bad.
From what I read, it seems like they did a lot of bad stuff in a lot of places. But it sounds like something I'll probably need to read the appendices for when we get to the end of the unholy consult.
And we do get. I did laugh when we hear the phantom drums and Espinette starts laughing.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the laugh of desperation.
Yeah. He has like, what
Um,
else? You know, like what else can happen?
yeah, yeah. Aside from the planet blowing up or the no god rising, I don't think things can get much worse for her. I mean, at least she's not in chains anymore. That's a nice change.
I guess there's always that. She did get dragged through the streets for a while and roughed up.
Now
It
she
just,
has the invisible chains of the Empire again.
Yeah.
I just wonder if Mathanet. Well, I mean, if he took over the city, he had to know that the Kianin were coming. So hopefully he started some defense preparations. Um, hopefully, it wasn't too focused on the coup and maintaining power over moment.
I did like how Esminette took control of the situation after Mathanet died. I did like how she handled that whole situation because I think she's capable. She just she had some missteps there.
Yeah, there is the part where she walks from the cell where they're keeping her. She has to walk through the like one of like the grand avenues. She has to walk all the way to the temple, and there are like the people are mobbing and they're shouting blessings and curses at her. It kind of reminded me of a scene from Darkness that comes before, when
Hmm.
Sirius is being brought to the temple to meet Mathanet, and Esmond is also going there to meet Mathanet. Um, and it kind of made me think, like, it just made me wonder, like, well, do you think that Esmenet is a better empress than Sirius was? Because on the surface, they seem to have some things in common, like at least the paranoia that is like one of the defining characteristics of Sirius. Like that paranoia is also a part of what caused all these complications for Esmenet. So is just like being an emperor, like do you just go insane as a default? Like do you need to be more than a human to able to rule an empire?
Sure makes it a lot easier, seems like.
Sirius's empire and Essenet's empire, I feel like, are far different, and what assails them are far different too.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. You have the Kianin at the borders. You have the Skilvendi at another border. Sounds
Yeah,
pretty familiar.
they were never like at the city gates though. It was always like a proxy war on their land.
So you're saying Xerids did a better job.
At least to not have the gods war against him. He's
Yeah, that's true.
just a crazy mom.
Yeah,
Nah,
his mom warred against him.
that octopus faced advisor. That's all he had to fight against.
Hmm. There's another quote about being. I wanted to bring up if I can find it on 572. And yet you seek memories. The wizard cried. At last delivered to tears. To be being is not a choice, but you claim being is deception. Yes, but it is nonsense, madness. And again, the non-man king laughed. That is becoming.
I got lost.
Yeah.
Um, I tapped the few. There's a quote right before that where he talks about, I think, like basically like consciousness or about soul and whether like whether we have a soul or if it's just a mirage of like a
Uh,
multitude of things.
only when a memory is stripped away, the cleric cried out, the glow fading from his eyes. Only then is being revealed as pure becoming. Only when the past dies can we shrug aside the burden that is our soul. Is that the one you're thinking about?
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Well, I guess he's talking about like how is so much of who you are is like what you remember.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you if you lose your memory? Like if you don't have your memory, you're just living in the moment. But is
Well,
that really living?
early in the book too, at 464, Sorwil, Surwa, and Moingus are talking, and Surwa's father says that we have an extra soul, one that lives and another that watches us living. We are prone to be at war with ourselves, the ambassador, and ambassador, can't pronounce it. So we have an extra soul, according to Kellis.
Or that's a way to describe it, because there's no such thing as a soul to Kellis. There's this quote too that's from Agensis. Gods are epochal beings, not quite alive. Since the now eludes them, they are forever divided. Sometimes nothing blinds souls more profoundly than the apprehension of the whole. Men need recall this when they pray.
So it's kind of the opposite of what Clerics is describing because he's talking about like being right in the moment, like not seeing anything that comes before or that came before or will come after.
Yeah, whereas the gods like see it all at once, maybe. So to them, it's different.
They see it all at once, maybe. Very Lovecraftian.
Good and bad might be different.
I might have to read some Lovecraft. You make it sound very intriguing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
He was one of a kind, for sure.
Yeah. The great ones.
There's a part where Sorwil and Surway are traveling, and Surway says she doesn't fear the ghouls because they are the children of fate. So who knows what that means?
I'll
For sure,
keep it in mind.
Sorwil is a child of fate, right? Because he's being guided by the gods. And I guess if Kellis is a god and he's guiding his kids, then they are children of fate too. Maybe. Or maybe they're children of fate somehow else. But from what you're saying, Katerina, so is Acamian, right? Everything just works out for him. He finds the map in the middle of a giant horde. And I think Esmnet found a magic, like, outer garment or something that can stop weapons. And what did she call the first weapon?
Oh,
Was it?
squirrel or
No,
I thought
it's
squirrel's the second one, the one she skinned the deer
squirrels.
with.
No, squirrels. The sword she brought with herself, like the sword she had originally.
hmm.
Oh,
I think it wasn't something like a chipmunk, or it was something squirrel related.
yeah, it was.
something squirrel related? Yeah.
And then
Some like a squirrel, but not exactly a squirrel,
they
like a
carve
small squirrel.
they carve the hide and they just wear it without like treating it, and so it just rots as they like travel. It's crazy. It's
I mean,
not
that's what
easy
I would
to.
do. Also, I mean, I also never If you'd lived in a palace for 10 years, you wouldn't know. Well, I mean, and then the previous 10 you'd spend in a brothel, you wouldn't know how to treat a hide. I mean, I probably expect better of a commune, but he had slaves, so no
Yeah.
wonder he never learned how to treat hides.
You need some certain things to do it. They're out on the trail. All they have is dead srank around. Snow, I guess, now. Avalanches, glaciers.
Yeah, Kami is he's kind of I don't know. He's I know we've talked about these chapters being a little tough with him and Mimiro, but I think I feel like his journey has to end soon, right? Like he has to be nearing the end, right? I mean, he seems like he's run his course. I don't know. I expect him to not be around too much longer.
I, I have no idea. I don't. I don't know. It's been sad to see him decline so much. Like he was such a like sensitive and thoughtful person, and so like it just felt like there was so much more to him when he was younger, when he was with Esminette. And then now he's just reduced to like he's just reduced to this obsession over Kellis, and it's kind of pathetic in some way. Like it's not like where he's not even, I don't think he's even doing it for like some greater reasons. It's just, I guess he just wants, I don't need what does he even want, like what does he want, the truth, but like what does he want to do with the truth? Like is he doing all this just to prove that he was right? Like is that it? I mean, if that's the thing, like it's incredibly selfish, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It appears like that's just what he wants, right? The truth. He just wants to know the truth about the Dunyan.
Does he though, or does he just want, or is it all about Esminet and what he was losing his wife?
I mean, like I get it. Like he was hurt by a lot of people, but I don't know. Like there are different ways to process that, and becoming self-absorbed hermit is just one of them.
And sacrificing a whole group of skin eaters too. I mean, he knew what was going to happen. He sacrificed all of them, put everyone
Right.
in
I mean,
danger.
arguably not the nicest people around, but yes, I agree with you.
Oh, you talked about cleric. Him dying was sad. So that was a communist's fault.
Uh, I mean, that would probably classify. I think that would pass as a self-defense, but yeah, I mean, he was the one who killed him.
Akamian was only putting up defensive wards, and Cleric was only putting out defensive cants, right? Until he concussed him out of the air.
Yeah, it was manslaughter basically, or
What
a
what
non-manslaughter.
what, would- what would Esmnet think about Akamian and Mimara?
I don't think she'll be very happy.
Think Akamian will finally get payback once with her anger, or will she not care?
I think she might be the reason he dies, or that seems fitting. Well, how much more can Espenet take before she, you know, takes drastic action? How
I
much more
don't.
can she take?
I feel like there has to be some sort of um clash, or like she will have to find out about Kelmomus sooner or later. The fact he's been feeding on Shriel Knights in the catacombs in the Edamanian heights, and I'm not I give up. I'm not even trying to pronounce it. Um, like I don't know. Just imagine how she's going to feel when she finds out that her sweet little angel boy is a human flesh eating, murdering psychopath who's been manipulating her the whole time.
Will she care? Will she forgive him?
Well, I don't have children, but I think people have limits.
She had one of them tied in a room.
Well, that was for his own sake.
Yeah, I guess. That's what she tells herself. She had the wrong one locked up. Or she should have all of them locked up.
I guess we find. I hope we find out before everybody dies, like Steve thinks.
I have to. I keep thinking of how this series is going to end, and I just think it's going to be something like it's going to go meta somehow or something. It's I don't know. It's got to be some bonkers ending that none of us, well, like, just could never predict.
I don't know. I'm trying to keep my expectations very low so that I'm not disappointed. But I mean, Baker, apart from this book, which I'm not, this is probably this is one of the like most underwhelming endings to a Baker book, I would say. Uh, but usually he tends to like his endings are generally pretty good.
Mm.
We had Cleric die, and we had a blind dragon flying off. Akamian found his
Yes.
map and got to Ishwal.
I don't know. It's just so. It's like maybe I'm the problem. It's just the way it's written. It's like, oh yeah, like there's a dragon and we fight it, and oh now we fight each other, and oh Cleric's dead. Well, that's bad, and oh now the Streng are following us, and oh Ishwal, but it's ruined, and eh, it's I
That's
don't know.
true. I get it.
I
And
don't want to ruin this for anyone. Like if you like enjoy the ending, like I'm so happy for you. And I don't dislike it per se. It's just I there are other endings in other books that Baker's written that I find more thrilling.
Mm.
the big reveal here is kind of that now they don't get to eat animals anymore. Now they're eating the enemy, whatever that means. That was the big reveal for the army, right? Whereas the big reveal for the skin eaters is that Ishwal has already been ransacked, it seems like. A big letdown. So I can see why the book wouldn't be that exciting. If there was a bunch of Dunyan on the walls, I think it might have been more exciting.
Yeah. And yeah, Sorwell also is kind of let down by Serva when he realizes that he's been completely delusional in thinking that she was in any way interested in him.
And I'm sure Mamara is let down by a lot of things too.
Well,
Everybody's just let down,
Yeah.
except for the Dunyans. Kellis, all his kids, they don't seem to be let down. They're just always moving forward. leaving the letdowns in their dust.
Focused.
Right. I mean, yeah, like Sirwa tells Torwheel that if anyone finds out about her and Moengus, Torwheel's the one who's going to die because he was the one who saw them together. Um, Speaking of Sirwa, I had a question. So we know she's like she's the oh, headmistress of the what was Swile Pact something. I
The
don't
nuns,
the nuns. She's the head nun. Um, and we but we also know that they're using the gnosis. They have access to the gnosis, and she has touched Seswatha's heart, and that's why she dreams the dream. Seswatha's dreams. So I'm wondering because like did Callus ever touch the heart? Like does he have access to the dreams? Because I don't think that's ever been made clear.
it hasn't, and it would seem like he did. He learned the mandate, so
Well, I mean that's the question. Like, would you want to like? Would there be a benefit to him dreaming Siswell's life, or would he want to have someone else's life take over his dreaming?
and how crazy that might make a Dunyan go if he has human feelings for his sleep and then Dunyan feelings for his awake. All things to consider. I think it would be beneficial to have, just for the quote that history repeats itself, right? And to know that which comes after, you have to know that which comes before. So anything he can get from before is gold to a Dunyan. But he walks on the outside, so who knows? Or he has walked on the outside, whatever that is, right?
Or so
Whatever that
he
is.
claims, yeah.
Yeah.
Things are going to get more spectacular.
Hmm.
More will be revealed, though. But
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the revelations. Um, not the. I mean, the action's good. It's not generally something I need in a book or anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not a big action guy either, but I think his action is pretty fast. Like he doesn't spend a lot of time on it. There's some authors that take pages and pages for a little battle, and I find myself skimming through it. But thankfully, he's pretty quick. They're over pretty fast, so I can appreciate that about it.
Yeah, I mean, he tends to focus more on battle tactics, and there's very little like face to face fighting. It's usually like he tells you like he gives you information about like the different like troops and where they're positioned and how they trick one another into yielding ground and that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
and which person swirled down into death?
Yeah, I don't know how many times he uses that in this series.
I really bet it's like less than 20 or 30 maybe in the entire series, but the uses make it stand out more probably. I'm
I
gonna
think
guess that he uses other stuff more.
Hmm.
Totem like things, other totem like shaped things more.
Yeah.
I think I think the deaths rolling down was a lot more prevalent in the first trilogy. Like I've only seen it a couple of times in these two books. But I think there were also a lot more people dying in The Prince of Nothing. or at least
I,
we were there to witness it.
Bigger battles in the first series too. Yeah.
I feel like for sure more people died in these books. At least like secondary characters. All of the skin eaters, which you kind of get to meet a little bit, are all now dead. All of the slaves we kind of met are dead. I assume Mescalese, probably all the Mandate are dead, which is at least the school we knew. There's probably a couple left.
Yeah, I think a couple of them survived and returned. I think the main uh Mandati sorcerer, I think he made it. Um but they weren't too happy to see him since they blamed they blamed the result of the battle on him. But it's
They were
still better than the fate of the king of the army.
they were so close to winning that battle. It seemed like finally they come over the hill out of the dust and they're just wrecking all the Bashrags, and then one little mistake and they just all laid each other to dust.
Yeah, which makes me even more curious if that was just a miscalculation on Callus's part, or if it was really the intention to have this army annihilated.
Hmm.
It reminds me of Kellis's Saban prophecy, where he just wanted one thing to happen and he didn't really care about the rest as long as he got the right people punished, and then his prophecy turned out to be true.
Any other notes you guys have or predictions? Any bold predictions, Katerina, that you want to throw out there? Anything you were thinking on reading this one that you're like, I think this is going to happen?
Well, let me see. Um, I don't think I have any predictions. Well, there we learn a little bit more about Moangas, uh, Moangas Junior, and it seems like the insanity might run in the family.
Yeah.
Though I also wonder if just being brought up in an environment where all your siblings are so much more intelligent and capable than you are, if that also has some effect on your sanity.
It would have to. It probably wasn't good for him. I think he'd be crazy anyway, but probably didn't help. Being in that family, raising that household, probably the worst place for him to be. Moingus is
Everywhere he
second.
goes, people like drop down to their feet too, so he probably had no friends except for his family.
Yeah, and also everyone knows that Kellis is not really his father, and Esmenet is not actually his mother. Um, yeah, I just wonder, like, is he the way he's portrayed or the way he's been portrayed so far? It there's the great like not just physical resemblance, but also the manner, the way he behaves. There is a great resemblance to Neor, but I always assume that Neor, the way he behaved, was mostly because of the history he had with Moengus Senior and the way his people treated him after that. So I was kind of surprised to see that he was so off. Like, I just assumed that he would be like a more normal kid.
Serway calls him crazy, and he calls Serway crazy. But they're the two kids that seem to get along the best, maybe.
Yeah, they seem to get along pretty well. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a so when right before Sorwell wakes splits up and goes goes away to find Sirwa and Moengus because they're missing. He has a dream about a stork, which is the holy animal or the holy bird of Sakarpas, and um, there were a couple of times where we saw a stork when also Yatware was present. I think when they dug up the quarry, I think there was a stork. When right before Callus attacks Carpus, there's also a stork on the walls that they see. So I wonder if Yatware had something to do with Sorwil finding Serwa and Moengas enjoying each other's company.
Enjoying each other's company.
You don't have to reply. It's just an observation I'm making. But it seems suspicious that he dreams about a stork and then things
Yeah,
are revealed.
I didn't catch that.
Maybe we'll see. I don't think there's going to be a stork in Isterbint, though. I don't think they hang out below mountains.
Maybe they breed them like chicken or something. Or eat them.
What if it's just the Synthes with bleached hair?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
What else? Yeah, they eat strang. Okay, we talked about that. I don't think. Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to talk about while I'm scrolling through my notes?
I think that was about it. Yeah, I think that's about all I had.
We're to a point in the Great Ordeal where they're going to be surrounded by strength the whole time now, probably. It's what it seems like.
Yeah, I wish we could skip that part and just reach Golgothrath and have a conversation between Kellis and Orang and Orax.
That would be nice. Is Daniel frozen, or is that just his facial expression?
I'm here.
What is this expression? Did I say something outrageous?
Uh-uh. There's halfway to Golgothrath now, right? I think maybe they've traveled maybe a little bit more than halfway they've traveled.
I have no idea. Like the distances, well, I mean, I'm even in the real world, I'm terrible with maps and distances, but here, I have no idea where they are right now.
From where Sorwill's place was to where they are now, which is, I forgot what the town was called, but it's like right along the river.
Was
It's
it
about
Ersule? Something R? No, I don't know.
it's yeah, Urshi.
Oh, okay.
Ursulon.
Yeah, okay. And so that's where the ordeal marches, but Sorwheel and Akamian.
Or down by Soglish is where it kind of like talked like Sorwill was describing a topoi but didn't know how to describe it. He said something, knowing he stood before an arena of lost glory of phantoms. And then right next to that is Trice. Or
Mm,
Soglosh is where Acamian was, the Library of Soglosh, and Trice is where uh, they were. So that on the map, it's real close.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I didn't realize it was a topoi, a topos. Um, they well, they did talk about it being the place from which or where the first great ordeal was declared.
Yeah, like the first great home of men. I assume if everyone's dead, then a lot of people died there.
Yeah, that was the confusing part because they didn't say that anything bad happened there, and they just talked about the ordeal. But oh yeah, I have one more thing. Um, a Kamen has a dream. He is in the sarcophagus, dreaming again that he is now Kyuti, and he's suffocating. So I assume that he got into the sarcophagus because in the previous dream his wife poisoned him, and everyone just assumed he was dead, but actually he wasn't. Um, but he's in the sarcophagus, and then Orang shows up and frees him. I think that's how I understood it. And uh, disarms him and tells him that no one escapes Golgotha. So I guess I'm wondering about the timeline. Like, did this happen before or after they went to Golgotha with Siswatha?
Hmm.
Um,
Or is this, yeah, during? Does Seswatha make it out and his best friend doesn't? His good buddy?
I don't know. Like, I wasn't even sure if it was like if him being in the sarcophagus and then Arang showing up, like if that was like the same scene, or if like they were just two scenes kind of combined together. Um, but yeah, like it's like I don't know, like maybe there's now Coyote just in Golgotha, and they somehow preserved him for
And
2,000 years.
Akamian has had other dreams than Seswatha, but not like directly in the body of someone else he knew. He was always just kind of a slave being pulled forward or out like an outer body kind of dream, but this time he is another person.
Hmm.
And he seemed to realize it really fast when he snapped into the dream.
So what does it mean?
That's the
And
question.
yeah, and like how, like is he? You know, I mean, it's the same question I keep asking over and over again. But like, is he dreaming? Like, is he actually dreaming what happened, or is someone did someone else create these dreams and is sending him these dreams? Um, and he just can't tell that they're being manufactured, or is I don't know, or like how can he dream? Siswatha dreams we know why he has access to those, but how can he dream about Naokiri as well? And was it something that Siswatha planted into his dreams, or is it just random? I don't. It's so many questions I have about this, and I like this one. I assume we will have an answer to, and I'm very curious to find out.
I
His
have no
his,
idea. Yeah.
his dreams are strange.
Yeah, I mean, like dreaming that inside of a sarcophagus that I cannot open. Like that's one hell of a nightmare.
Yeah.
So if there's 100 gods, right? And yeah, we're just playing. A, who knows how many humans, but at least two, right? What of the other gods? Could one of them be playing with a Kamian? One of them be playing with Memara? Is that yet or two? Or are most of the gods just idle gods, where other ones are playing the game?
I
Just,
mean,
but in a sense, a Kamian stumbles just like Sorwil, like into the right spots. Oh yeah, here's this map. It's not even been looked at yet.
but the seal has been broken.
This is true.
Yeah.
That dragon probably was bored and wanted to read, but he didn't have eyes, so I don't know how he's going to do that.
Um, well, who do you think broke the seal, Steve?
I have
Or
no
and do you
idea.
think that anyone's read the map besides a
S-
commune?
Someone's read it, right? I think somebody's read it.
Or they found Ishwal without reading it because something happened to Ishwal, or the Dunyan did it. Or I don't
Yeah.
know, sometimes just walls collapse. Maybe it was just old age. This tower finally just collapsed after a couple thousand years.
Yeah, I think the Dunyan did it, but we'll see.
I don't know. I was thinking maybe because we know that I don't remember. Was it Garnilka or the? We know there was another king after Kelmomas who sought refuge in Ishwal. So maybe they broke the seal when they were looking for the Ishwal, but kept like just left the map there for
Hmm.
other. I don't know. It's probably a pretty poor theory.
Or
Um,
did the Dunyan leave it there on purpose, knowing that it would be found?
or yeah, or did someone plant it there?
This damn Dunyan.
You know, like was the dream even like was the map even real? Was the dreams where they talked about the map was that real? If it wasn't, then the map maybe never existed, and then someone had to make a map after the fact and just put it in Ishwal, put it in the coffers for a commune to find it.
If we remember the very first prologue, right? The Rimbers like all catch the plague. Everyone in Ishwal caught the plague except for two people. And that was the bard that was like trying to catch the little Rimber kid. And then the Rimber kid killed him, and then a bunch of people called themselves the Dunyan showed up to hide from the end of the world.
Hmm.
But that was after the plague had already taken out like all of the refugees that left. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So maybe whoever these Dunyan are, they found the map.
Hmm.
Because who
Hmm.
knows how they showed up to hide from the end of the world.
Yeah, that's also a pretty big coincidence.
Hmm. I have no idea what's gonna happen next. I really don't, or what's going
We
on.
we get to start out in Ishwal though, right? That sounds exciting.
I mean, not if it's just ruins and snow.
Yeah, chapter 5.
I
So
think I think Akamian's kind of an archaeologist. He can figure out what happened there in the midst of the ruins.
Right. I hope they discover the room with the people with their faces cut open. That would be a nice surprise that the Dunyan might have left for them.
Maybe we will. Maybe we'll learn a little bit about the Dunyan and what what they believed, what they needed to operate. Or maybe they're just all disappeared. Maybe it's full strength.
Maybe they're on
Maybe
the
the
outside.
maybe the console's hiding in there. I can say a
Yeah.
lot of maybes right now.
Maybe Saban is in there, just like
Oh,
hanging out.
well, that would be disappointing. But
The
yeah, it might be a trap. I haven't even considered that.
the Great Ordeal lost what, probably a quarter of its people, maybe significantly more than that, I guess, when they killed their slaves. They've lost probably a quarter of soldiers that they started with, and a couple 100,000 slaves that they just killed.
Yeah, they could have eaten the slaves. Just saying.
Would you rather eat a shrank or a human?
Uh, that's not easy to answer.
I think I'd go with Shrank. I don't know.
The strings seem pretty disgusting and filthy.
It's exotic.
And then when you read about Serway and Moingus, your mind screams like incest, but they're technically not related, right? There is none, but your brain tells you that it's just a wrong thing. Why? Why is that?
It's the darkness that comes before.
Yeah.
But you're right. It does not feel right to for the two of them together.
Sorwell
Um,
definitely does not think so.
yeah, but I wonder if if it's that much because they're brother and sister, or if he's just really upset that
He was
she's,
smitten.
so, she's just not interested in him at all.
Yeah, I think he's just upset that she wasn't interested.
They knew he was watching, though, right? Way before he knew that they knew he was watching.
Yeah, probably. Um, yeah, that's a low point for Sorwell. I will admit that.
Yeah,
Poor
not too
kid.
good. I don't know.
One of the only kids in the whole series that at least doesn't have special powers, and
Yeah,
everyone's expecting so much out of him. He's got to be a better king than Harwill, has to make all the right decisions. He's just a scared little horse king.
Yeah, he's pretty much set to fail.
well, he has some help, so maybe he won't.
Yeah, I'm pretty pretty curious about what's going to happen to Sorwell because I have no idea where he's going. But I don't. Well, I don't know. I guess I can see it both ways. Like I can see him just becoming like turning things around and kind of coming into his own and finding some. I mean, not even courage, but like some certainty in like who he is and what he should be doing. But I could also see going the exact opposite way in him just failing on every level and I don't know, becoming like a consult ambassador at the end.
Because Baker is willing to go these really dark places, you never know what's gonna like. It's hard to predict because he just you never know what he's gonna do next. That's what makes it fun.
Have these two books been darker than the first series? Is it?
No, I don't think so.
Mm, m- maybe they feel more. I don't know, like the Prince of Nothing. The tragedy is more in just people killing other people for stupid reasons. Um, this like the aspect Emperor, I feel like has more of the there's more of like the fantastical, and there's like it's more like the horror that's coming from well, the outside, but by outside I mean, like you have the Incroy and you have the Strength and you have these like you have Kiri, so it's everyone's like weird like mental space. It feels more, I don't know. It would just feel like more psychotic. Which is like it's a different kind of darkness.
Hmm. I think other than the judging eye, the last, I don't know, 10-15%, I think it hasn't been as dark. Well, maybe it's just because we weren't used to the world and we were getting used to it in the first series, and kind of you have to go through that initial
Dark shock,
surprise, yeah, dark shock.
like
So
when
maybe we're
Estenet
just used
almost
to it.
gets stoned in the first series, and it was
Yeah,
like a big deal.
Mm.
it's like the Prince of Nothing has more of a like realistic feel to it. So also the darkness, it has to do more with like
Good versus
human like
evil.
Hmm.
Sauron's eyeball, kind of.
yeah, it's more just the humans doing awful stuff to each other. But in the second series, it's just everything feels like more surreal. It's like that the vibe is is different. Like all the horrible things that happen are sort of, they don't feel quite real, but there are like I like the ending of the Judging Eye. For me, like that's pure horror.
Yeah.
Um, and even like the Akamian and Maimara traveling on Kiri for this, but there is something very like ominous about that as well.
Mm.
I was just curious whether this was darker. I would say definitely these two books are darker than the first series, but
Hmm.
maybe not from like a emotional tragedy perspective, but they're like sticking their fingers in dead ashes and putting them in each other's mouths, and everyone around them is just like dying in the most terrible ways. The guy cries, and the captain just comes over and just sticks his knife in his throat. No weepers on the slog. If that would have been a rule in the what was it, the first holy war, then it would have been a drastically different holy war if the rules would have been the same. But the rules just keep getting worse and worse, and same with for the Great Ordeal. The rules just seem to be getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Maybe that guy that got lashed 2 or 3 times isn't going to get lashed next time. Maybe something worse is coming for him. I don't remember what his name was.
Hmm.
No, yeah, it's right that I mean they were like the people in the first Holy War. They went to some extreme places and they did some pretty extreme things. But this series, it feels like everyone's constantly at like another level of just extreme. Like just like the mental state that everyone in is in, it just feels much more like intense and much more out there. Um,
Hmm.
which I
I
guess
guess.
like I mean definitely feels, reading these two books does feel different than reading the first trilogy.
Well, we'll see if Baker can end with you guys thinking these were darker. I still strongly suspect that that will be the case, but I don't know.
I hear
Yeah.
some dark things are coming.
It is about like tolerance, though, right? You build up a good tolerance to some bad things happening, then everyone's like eating shrink and nobody cares.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next for sure. Anyone, you guys have anything else on your notes?
No, I think I'm okay. We covered most of it.
Yeah.
Rest
Just
in
some.
peace,
All
Captain
right.
and
Me.
Maithnet and Prosperian and all Obategua, all the slaves.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Ethernet.
should have a in memoriam section.
it'd be
The
like an hour long. Yeah. All
All
the
of
shrank.
the stone hags, all of the skin eaters, except for Sorrel.
right.
Did you guys
Selma.
think he was going to be the lone survivor? Out of all of them, he broke the fastest. He got the Weeper cut even. Now he's the last one alive, talking to Poquest and talking to Galleon like they're still around.
Severed heads.
Well, it worked for him, so he must be doing something right.
I guess. But just want to mention to everyone who's watching and listening that we will be taking about a month off, um, give or
Yeah,
take
3 weeks.
3 weeks. So we will be back recording episodes on the 3rd of March, but you won't see them until the 10th of March. So, but we're coming back for the last two books. But you won't see or hear from us for a little while. We'll be taking a little break. Uh, so just a heads up. So if you're reading along with us, then take a break and read read something else for about a month, and then
Yeah,
come back and join
gather
us.
some strengths for the last two books. I think I have a hunch that we might need them.
Yeah, I think so. So cool. Yeah, that's all that I had on these ones. Mate the net.
Well, rest in peace, cleric.
So who would you have rather lived, Katerina? Cleric or Mate the net?
Oh, well, for like just personal
Yeah,
interests or curiosity, probably Neil Gikas or cleric is more fascinating of a character to me. But for practical reasons, I think Esmenet would be better off if Mathanet was still alive. Like I think her chances of defeating Fanile would probably rise significantly if he was there with her, advising her.
you don't want to know what he was going to say about his "tell my brother" or "Columbus isn't who you think he is." You wouldn't want to know what that was all about.
Well, we know that Calamomus isn't who Esmenet thinks he is. Um, the yeah, the tell my brother, I don't know. Why? What would he want Callus to know?
That he doesn't already know.
Yeah,
But he's sorry.
that's
I I say Enrolitus. I want I wanted more Enrolitus.
yeah, yeah. That was a pretty cool character as well.
He was the most interesting character in the book. He could have just walked around killing people for a couple hundred pages, just indiscriminately, and I would have read. Making people kill themselves, I guess. Whatever he does.
Yeah,
Being a
lots of
god.
lots of great characters, but yeah, Mate the net. I think he. Oh, that sucked. I'm I'm so bummed about Mate the net.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Maybe Saban will get his what's coming to him, and then we'll get to throw a little party and celebrate Saban's demise eventually before the books are over.
We'll see. I'm kind of worried about who's going to make it and who isn't.
When I first read the series, I never thought Mathanet was making it out of the room with the little kids, and he
Hmm.
did. So he was a survivor.
He
Yeah,
was.
Kilmomas, I'm pretty excited to see dead. The little monster.
He is a little monster, definitely. Do you think? Okay, so Katerina, name your top five characters that you think will survive. Name five characters that will make it.
Oh, that will make it. I think Callus, maybe in some form. I don't think Esmenet is going to make it. A Kamian. Yep, I guess a Kamian. Um,
You
I
just
don't
said he
see
outlived
many.
his
I don't see.
usefulness.
I don't see many people making it out alive. I think Proyas probably.
Hmm.
Okay, the way I'm thinking about it is like who's going to regret surviving the most, and I think Kellis and Akami are the two who are going to be the most regretful about the things they've done. Um, so those two are my
Hmm.
yes. Maybe as Minette if something bad happens to Kelmovis.
None of the kids? Not Wutiat the dragon or RX and Arang or the Synthes?
Yeah,
The
I
No
don't.
God? What if the No God lives?
Is he even alive?
Not yet, but he's supposed to live again. That's what the second apocalypse is.
Oh, don't you need a soul to be alive?
Do you?
I just
So that
assume.
is
I
a
mean, are the
that is
skin spies alive?
that's a great question. Do you need a soul to be alive?
Well, I guess it depends on how you define what being alive is,
Or what a soul is?
or what the soul is. Yeah.
The
Um,
captains bounce back from hell though. Whatever
allegedly.
whatever constituted for his soul. I don't
Allegedly.
who knows if it bounced back a second time. But they don't think the captain will ever die. Sarl doesn't.
Hmm.
I don't think Sarl is the most reliable source. Um, but if he does bounce back, I would very much like to talk to him and find out how he does it. Or is he too evil for even hell to keep him?
Hmm.
Is that it?
I don't know. Who do you think lives, Steve?
None of them.
Not even the Synthes? Not he can fly.
I don't think anyone's gonna live. I think it's something crazy is going to happen. Like it's like time's gonna get reset, or something weird and meta is gonna happen that everyone's going to die or at least cease to exist.
The Meek's rank inherit the earth.
They're gonna be dead too. Something is going to happen. Something
Whoa.
crazy is going to happen that no one's going to survive.
Let's talk about species then. Do rabbits live? Do snakes? Are we down to cockroaches? Fleas?
No, no,
Fleas seem to live in this world
no,
through anything.
no, no living things will survive. Maybe Kellis in some form, but not in the form he's in now.
Will the gods survive? Are they living?
The gods will survive.
But if okay, um, if they're all dead, doesn't the outside close? Because I think they need to reduce the population to 144,000 people in order to close the outside. But I guess that's like an upper bound. So if you reduce it to zero, does
There you
it
go.
still work?
Wutiat said it didn't work. They went to world after world reducing the population and it just wouldn't work. But this was the place.
So, okay, let me rephrase that. I think some people may survive, but they won't be here on this planet when it's all over. They'll go on somewhere else.
They fly off in the ark.
In the ark, they'll go somewhere, or the another ark will appear, and they'll take a certain amount of people with them, and this world will cease to exist.
The Ark's husband shows up and
The ark's
realizes that his wife has been stuck in a hole for a long time.
something wild is gonna happen.
They talk about the Ark like it may be living, right?
I don't think it will be a happy ending at all.
So now I'm just imagining Kellis marching on Golgotharath in order to capture the ark and fly away with it.
Maybe.
Have the
Would
coolest
it
toy.
surprise you though? Would it surprise you if that happened?
Not, I guess not. I mean,
I
if you're Dunyan, probably the planet's too small for you anyway. So maybe you might want to explore the whatever's out there.
I listened to everything you both said, and I can only assure you that you'll both be surprised.
Oh,
I'm happy to hear that.
yeah.
And when we talk about grimdark and dark, I think some of the most dark stuff on paper is upcoming. This book's dark, but our Scott Baker will try to one up himself. He gave you the little, what was it? The little boy, the little guy.
The little brother.
Yeah, that didn't come till just like a couple chapters ago.
Hmm.
3 books of other explanation, and then he finally gave you the little brother. So maybe he can outdo himself. You said that was the worst one you've heard yet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the cringiest one for sure.
Hmm. Well, looking forward
For
to seeing
some
that book.
reason, when I said Sauron's eye earlier, it made me think of just the shape of this. It's all the same shape now. It's very phallic.
There's a lot of totems in this series.
And mud and water. I think of mud and water differently now too.
A lot of things differently now after this series. Yeah. It's gonna be weird being off for a month, but it'll be fun to get back and have a little break and recharge the batteries a little bit and start with the last 2 books. So, Daniel, if someone wants to contact you or not contact you, where's the best place to not find you?
Just come yell at Steve at one of his lives. I'll be in there. We can talk books with him and all of his book friends.
Yeah, there's always that. And Katerina?
Uh, Finding me is pretty much hopeless these days, but if you tag me on the page chewing forum, I do tend to read those messages. And I do read the comments under the YouTube videos as well.
Nice. Yeah, so you'll see us again on the 10th of March, but we'll be recording the week prior to that. So we'll be back and hope all of you who've been reading along will continue with us as we take a little breather. So, well, cool. Well, thanks everyone for watching or for listening, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
And rest in peace, Aka's hair.
Rest in
Goodbye.
peace, Mathanet. Pour out some liquor from Mathanet.